Hello, everyone. My name is Maya Loven, and I am currently a student here at the University of North Dakota. This past semester, I've been enrolled in a Women and Gender Studies course called the Study of Women. Although this class is different from my typical science classes, it has been an eye-opening course for me and has challenged many of my past beliefs about gender stereotypes and women in general. Today, I brought one of my friends to come and sit down with me and discuss some of the things I've learned throughout this course and how it relates to our life here at UND.
Hey guys, my name is Josie and I'm currently a student here at UND with Maya, and I'm excited to sit down today and talk about this class because I didn't take it and I'm really curious about the things discussed.
Yeah, so I guess to start off, I would just start from the beginning of the course, where we first watched some videos about gender stratification and how sexism even became a thing in society. I guess I'm just curious, do you know what gender stratification is, or have you ever heard of it?
I honestly have no idea what stratification is. I feel like I have heard of it before, but I could not really give you a definition of it.
Yeah, so I honestly was in your same boat before taking this class. After learning a little bit more, and I have learned that gender stratification is basically the idea that men tend to inhabit higher social rankings than women when it comes to jobs and positions of leadership.
Oh, okay. Now that you say that, that totally makes sense. That is obviously a real issue in society.
Right. That's what I think too. Can you think of any examples in your own life, maybe even at UND, where you can see gender stratification?
Honestly, yes. One thing that I have noticed is how I'm a finance major and my classes are predominantly males, including male professors. This does not really bother me. However, I will say that there are always the guys that have their condescending comments, and you can just tell that they think I'm less than because I'm a girl. I understand why many women probably don't want to find the engineering field of interest because it's so predominantly run by men, which can be really intimidating.
Yeah, I could totally see that being the case. I personally would be turned away from ever pursuing a career in engineering for that reason. Men can be very condescending when it comes to women. We learned a little bit more about the term mansplaining, which literally is a word to describe how some men speak to women like they are less than. It is sad that in certain professions, women are turned away from because of the stereotypes and whatnot. An interesting perspective on that idea is the idea of nurses. I always think about the men that decide to be nurses because I think that is kind of brave of them to join a predominantly female workforce because many guys wouldn't be able to take that ego blow. You know what I mean? Since nursing is a predominantly female workforce, I think some men are turned away from it because they maybe think they are too good to be working with women. So shout out to all the male nurses out there.
Yeah, very true. It can go both ways. And there are many ways to look at gender stratification.
Yes, totally. I'm so happy we were able to touch on that topic. Another topic I found interesting in the class was when we read a book titled I'm Afraid of Men, and basically it will give you a quick little rundown of what this book was about. It was about a transgender woman who was born male. She details her life and how she grew up fearing men and thinking she did not identify with either gender. Although the book had a lot more depth to it than just fearing men, I think we as college girls can relate to this idea of men being kind of scary. Do you agree?
Yeah, totally. I know personally growing up, I would always hear negative things about creepy men, and my parents telling me to never talk to older men that were strangers. It is one of those things that you don't really realize how sad that it is when you're younger. You just think it's normal.
Yes, I can totally relate to what you were saying about when we were younger. I always remember my mom would say things like if I ever got lost at the store or something to find a woman that was my mom's age and ask for help. I can specifically remember her saying not to ask for a man's help in that situation. I know when we would do our in-class discussions, there were other students that had similar stories. We have kind of been put into a world where we grow up not trusting men. Men are the ones we usually see on the news doing the scary things.
Right, and that's honestly sad because there's so many men out there that have good intentions and would never want to scare a woman. It's unfortunate that as a society that we feel that way, even though I'm guilty of it myself.
Yeah, me too, which just shows how much stereotypes can affect our lives. Can you think of ways that men can work to gain women's trust?
That's a tough question, and I wish that it was simpler, but honestly, I think it depends. Obviously, gaining trust would take time, and I think just remaining true to morals is all we can really do at the end of the day.
Yeah, it is kind of scary to think about one day being a mother and bringing kids into this world. And as far as the author goes, I feel really bad for people that do not find a sense of belonging within their gender. Personally, I love being a woman and being feminine, but I understand how hard it would be to not have that sense of belonging. Anyways, one final thing I want to bring up was another subject of this course, which discussed sex trafficking. I guess I found this topic the most interesting just because of the number of surprising things I learned. I learned that sex trafficking does not only take place in poor countries, but it also takes place all over the world, even in America. Often the women who are victims of sex trafficking are labeled as prostitutes, even though often they are taken advantage of at a young age. A good example of this is in the book we read called Sex Trafficking by Siddhartha Kara, where we learn about different stories all over the world. The author kind of went undercover and witnessed firsthand the sex industry. Often the girls would be extremely young and tell stories about how their families were lied to and told they were sending their daughters away to a good paying job, or another often story was that the girl was beat even if she tried to leave. There are girls all over the world that are physically and mentally abusive conditions that they feel as though they cannot get out of. I am honestly shocked this does not get talked about more.
Wow, I'm honestly just processing everything you just said. It's extremely saddening to hear that the common victims are young girls and this is happening right here in America. It is just crazy to me that this industry has gotten to this point. Like, how is this allowed and not a bigger deal?
No, yeah, that is exactly what went through my head when this was all going down too. Like, how is this a thing? It is so disturbing to even think about. Another story we heard in this class was about a younger girl that was kind of tricked, I guess you could say, if you will, into believing that her pimp, which is what they used to describe the man basically selling his girl to clients, was in love with her and they were dating. If I remember correctly, this girl was only about 14 at the time. At that age, your brain is so underdeveloped, like of course you will believe some older man in authority that he loves you, and you will do whatever he says. The story really stuck with me because she was really just taken advantage of, and now this big target on her back that she is a prostitute. Like, how can society not see that she is just a young girl being taken advantage of?
Honestly, all I can think of is how we can end this. Like, there must be some form of reform and action that can be taken.
Right, I have thought about that as well with all of the topics we have discussed in this course, and honestly, policies need to be reformed and we need to protect children at all costs. I am kind of curious, what did you really know about trafficking before hearing what I have said?
I thought really similar things to you. I honestly thought trafficking was not the relevant and it only affected poor communities not in the U.S.
Right, and I can't help but wonder if this issue would be handled differently if men were the primary victims. Do you know what I mean? Like, if men were victims of sex trafficking more than women, would this issue be handled differently? It's a good question to think about.
Yeah, same. That is a really good point.
Anyway, I think that all kind of sums up what we talked about in this class, or at least the topics I wanted to discuss. There's obviously a lot more that we read and learned, but those were some of the main themes. I'm glad I was able to discuss them with you. Maybe you could take this class in the future.
Maybe. I'll definitely think about it. I loved learning about the class from you.
Thanks. Bye.